Welcome to the Bob Network. Today we answer the question on everyone's mind. Has there ever been an ugly Mustang? Mustang was introduced in 1965 as a 64 and a half because in those days they always had the model change in the fall, but this was introduced early and it was a huge success. You could buy a convertible, a fastback, a notchback coupe, and then of course Carroll Shelby offered a high performance version. The following year, same product line. The Shelby Mustang pictured here in '66 is a GT350H. You could actually go to Hertz and rent the highest performance Mustang that was on the market. 1967, wheelbase width and length grew by a couple inches on each account. Once again, fastback, convertible, notchback, still a great looking car, just a little bit larger. 68, you can see that the Shelby variants added some hood scoops and some other really cool design features. There was a factory roll bar in the convertible Shelby. Still basic same design as 67. This is a 69 Shelby. As you can see, it has a little lip spoiler and the full width tail lights, which were sequential tail lights. I believe the Thunderbird and the Mustang were the first to have those. Now you see them on a lot of cars. And here's the front view of the 69 and 70 Shelby, which I think is one of the most attractive Mustangs ever produced. The 70 moved the headlights inboard and had these little vent-like features where the headlights were on the 69. And there were lots of special editions. You could order so many different option packages, colors. And then 1971 came about, and I think these are spectacular looking cars. The grille design and the bumper is reminiscent of the 69 and 70 Shelbys to my eye. You could no longer get a notchback. Instead, they had these flying buttress type roof panels where the back window was flat and then the actual side view, you could see how it's kind of scooped out, kind of the Ferrari Dino look and a later 308 GT. But wonderful looking car. It unfortunately grew. It was now 6 to 8 inches longer than the 65 and 7 inches wider. It was quite a large car. 73, basically the same design as the 71. They changed the grille slightly. And then the big news came. 1974, they downsized it. This is the Mustang that everyone hates, the Mustang 2. But I will say, I think it still was an attractive car. It had many of the Mustang elements, had the side scoop on the door, the grille and the headlights and the tail lights were reminiscent of every Mustang before it. And it was actually 6 inches shorter than a 65, a couple inches wider, but much more tossable car. Unfortunately, at that time, the performance was down. The motors did not make much horsepower, and that was a big knock against it. But it actually was a sales success, and you have to thank that Mustang for continuing the Mustang line uninterrupted because Ford sold enough of them where they were confident to go ahead and keep producing them, which is a great thing. 1979 came around and the Fox body was introduced, and this car was the start of performance returning to the Mustang lineup. It was the pace car in 79, and I think that's an attractive design. A little more upright, but it was a little bit larger than the Mustang 2, and yet it was a manageable size. You could get a fastback and a notchback. And then in 1983, the convertible returned. Here are two cars which I actually owned, and the 1986 GT pictured on the left is my favorite Fox body design. It was the last Mustang with 4 headlights. The 1988 pictured on the right went to a single large headlight. I don't think the front end was as attractive as the 86, but that's one that I should have kept. 1987 was officially the last year for T-tops on a Mustang. I ordered the 88 just at the right time and got the very last Mustang with T-tops. And an 88 Mustang with T-tops is a rare bird indeed. So should have held on to that one, but it went away. Pictured here is the Mustang SVO. It had a little different styling elements, such as the twin spoiler on the rear, and this had the single headlights, which I think is what inspired Ford to switch over in '87 to make the GT look like the SVO, which had been discontinued. '86 was the last year for the SVO. The main difference here was it was a four-cylinder turbo. I originally shopped for one of these before I bought my '86 GT, and the salesman advised me that the 5 liter was much more substantial and the four-cylinder turbo wouldn't be as reliable. And I will say that it was a car set up to handle really well, and it did the job. I took it out on a country road with that salesman, and his right hand was welded to the door handle because we were exceeding the speed limit quite considerably. So here's the '87 Mustang. Once again, as you can see, the grill was eliminated and they put these big headlights on there. I believe that Tim Allen owned one of these and he had the headlights changed out on this and had Thunderbird headlights grafted onto it, which were lower profile, and it made a difference in the appearance of that car. But still, a great looking design. In 1994, Ford introduced the SN95 Mustang as a successor to the Fox body. And again, this grew a couple inches in all dimensions over the Fox body. And I think it was a handsome design, incorporated a lot of the traditional Mustang styling elements. So I wouldn't classify this as the ugly Mustang. And now we come to 2005. Ford went retro, and this Mustang grew to the same size as the '68 Mustang. In fact, there was a company in Southwest Missouri that actually grafted on the front clip from a '69 Shelby onto these newer Mustangs, and it was a pretty cool setup. Modern handling, modern drivetrains, and it was a really neat looking car. But I prefer small, tossable, great handling cars, so I wasn't really excited about the car growing again. 2015 came the latest generation of Mustangs, and once again, they grew slightly. They're a little bit longer than the 2005s, like an inch or two. They are still fantastic looking cars. They are forward looking, they're more aerodynamic, they perform really well, and they tweaked them just in 2024. The Mustang had a refresh, and once again, I like the way they look. They are more aerodynamic, and they still have a lot of the Mustang elements. They're recognizable as a Mustang. This is the Mustang GTD. Recently, Ford has introduced some incredibly monster Mustangs that are basically racetrack ready. And once again, I think they continue the tradition of the Shelby and great looking cars. And what video would be complete without a little controversy? Pictured here is the Mustang Mach-E. Many people were upset that they put the Mustang name on an SUV. And I know personally I don't like how Dodge planted the Charger name on a lot of inferior cars, so I can get that. But I will look at one styling element of this car, and that is the roof line extends out and is squared off for the most part, but they kind of blacked it out on the back, if you notice, so that it fools the eye and you get more of the fastback look. The front end is Mustang-like. So again, I think it's a pretty handsome car. So the question is, has there ever been an ugly Mustang? Personally, I say the answer is no. The Mustang named the class. The cars in this class, the Camaro, the Barracuda, the Javelin were all called pony cars. Now, the Mustang wasn't the first to market. The Barracuda actually was, and we'll do a video on that one. But the Mustang outsold the Barracuda incredibly, and so that's why they're called pony cars. Maybe if the Barracuda had been a huge success, they would call them fish cars. At any rate, I don't think there's ever been an ugly Mustang. You're free to disagree, and I would love to see your comments, and let's discuss it. Thanks for watching.